This is HighIntensityBusiness.com with Lawrence Neal, helping you achieve your health and fitness goals. Become a great personal trainer and build your high-intensity strength training business.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention HIB, that's High Intensity Business, in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you place an order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter HIB in the How Did You Hear About Us field. Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to HighIntensityBusiness.com. This is episode 272, and today's guest is Eric McKay. Eric is a husband and father of 3 beautiful girls. I love how you put that at the start of your bio, by the way. That's normally at the end, but clearly that is an important part of this. And he is owner and coach of Noble Strength and Performance, founded in 2010. He has a bachelor's and master's in physical education, is a certified strength and conditioning specialist, precision nutrition level 1, certified head and neck specialist, mindset performance specialist, among many other things. Eric, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, Lawrence.
Great to have you. Long overdue, I think. I've had people request you for a long time. I've had a lot of people ask you to come on the show over the years, just so you know. I don't think I'd said that to you. So it's great to finally get you on. How are you coping? I mean, I know we had a little bit of chat there offline, but I'm just curious, I think it would only be probably relevant to quickly discuss how you personally are coping with COVID-19, the situation, how it's impacted business, things like that.
I'm fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. Over the years, I've had different business coaches who we've talked to, and I've implemented some things. But I had to be honest with who I am and what it is that I want to do and what I want out of life and out of this business. And I realized that I don't want franchises. I don't want a bunch of people working for me. I'm happy here by myself, training the people and influencing those that I can, and networking and doing what it is that I do. So, I'm in a 4,000 square foot barn off on the back of my property, and all my equipment is paid for. My barn, everything is paid for. I just have utilities, insurance, upkeep, that basic thing. So I'm in a very fortunate situation financially there. I've had a few, 7 or 8 of my clients that we've gone to virtual training. And other than that, I think what's really important to me is at least keeping in contact, because we're in a situation here that no one's ever been in before. So I want to make sure that all my people know, all my friends, clients. I don't really like that word clients, because I do try and make more of a family type setting. But they know I'm here, whether they're training or not. I'm available to them if they want to talk or whatever else.
Awesome. Okay. How many clients do you have in total? How many people in the family, I should say?
in the family was 35 to 40. So it kind of fluctuates a little bit between college, it's college athletes, college students that will be gone for a certain amount of time and then they come back over the summers and breaks. So, and I keep myself pretty busy, 35 to 40. So,
yeah. No, I love what you said there, how you kind of became honest with yourself and decided, actually, you know what, I don't want to grow in this way or that way, franchising, hiring tons of trainers. I love what I've created. I want to be the sole trainer and owner. And there's a number of our colleagues who are in a similar boat where they're in that position, around the world. I know people in the UK who are in that position personally. And they seem to be, happy individuals who are quite happy to operate at that level and continue to operate at that level. And I think there's a lot of people who perhaps need to admit to themselves, and maybe I'd love to hear your view on this, that actually that's what they want. But they're tempted by some of maybe our colleagues, maybe some of the faster growing, larger personal training businesses out there, and they think, oh, they should be doing that, so I should be. And obviously that theme is so prevalent in society. People always they're always comparing themselves to each other and want to, grow or attain what that person has. So do you see that in our colleagues? Do you see people you think, you know what, you'd be happy just doing your own thing, kind of the way you're doing it, Eric?
Yeah. There's probably, I've talked to some people that, have tried to do things a certain way and grow and try and get people in and it just not work out. It's hard to find, I think in what we do, it's hard to find quality trainers sometimes. Obviously Luke Carlson, there's a number of people out there that have done a great job in hiring and teaching exactly what it is and
sure,
their trainers understanding it. So, but sometimes I think it's difficult to find that. And then as you're going along and you're trying to find a trainer or a couple of trainers to be able to come in, you realize, well, I can't find them and I'm actually doing pretty good and I'm really happy and, maybe this isn't all that bad anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Like
you said, I've got three little girls and my life is pretty busy outside of that. So,
I bet.
We'll get into that later, as you were saying before we started here, kind of life and growing up and whatnot, and why it is that I've decided the route that I'm going is the right one for me.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And let's park the business for a moment because we might get back to that. But we can almost backtrack a little bit and maybe get into some of the genesis in terms of your upbringing. Now, you've been relatively public about, growing up in an abusive household, being in 11 different schools, I heard you say over the years. I think you've shared some of this on podcasts and in your own social media videos and things. And I know that you're really passionate about mindset and helping people with their own issues and their, personal development, which I really commend you for. But I'm really interested to hear what kind of things, and again, please only go into the detail that you're comfortable going into. But what kinds of things were you subject to or experience did you have, and how did that kind of impact you?
Yeah. So I have no real issue talking about it. I actually, it's something that, like you said, I do talk about a lot, even constantly talking about breaking the cycle. And I didn't realize that there was a cycle that I was in necessarily. I had a poor mindset. There was a lot of not as much physical abuse as I got older, because I did get stronger. When I was about 12 years old, I started lifting weights purely so that I could protect myself from my father.
Wow.
And the physical stuff, like when it came, now that I think about it, the physical stuff, I would have much rather had, the physical abuse, because it was the verbal stuff that really fucked me over for a long time. My teenage years, I was not happy. I was suicidal. I just had different things. It just didn't seem like there was much worth of anything. I had some friends that kept me going. And I had my best friend at the time. His family kind of took me in, and I got the support from them that I think I was looking for, and helped me kind of step away from some of the thoughts that I was having, keep me kind of poised and heading in a direction. It wasn't a great direction still, because I only graduated high school with like a 1.8 GPA, so I didn't do shit for work. And it wasn't that, obviously, where I'm sitting now, it's not that I was an idiot. It was just I had different priorities. I was trying to survive.
Of course.
And I didn't know where to go. Didn't know what to do. After I graduated, I just started working. So as things went on, sorry, I get a little lost sometimes when I'm talking about this because there's so many different things.
That's fine. So, take your time.
So as I went on with life, just different things, meeting different people that influenced me and inspired me to do things. Just after high school, I had seen, heard someone talking or seen something about be the person that you wish you had when you were growing up. Something along those lines.
I love that.
And so I started coaching football because I had always played football, and football is, I think, one of those things that really kept me going. Just being able to go out there and fucking hit people made me happy. Maybe that doesn't sound right, but you know where I was, it was in a safe way. I didn't go out there and try and hurt anyone, but just the running into people and hitting people and stuff that made me happy. So that was a bright spot to look forward to working out. So I started coaching football a couple years after I graduated high school, and and that was awesome. That really helped turn things around for me. And kind of the same thing, being honest with those kids, what was going on, because those kids are choosing to be out there. They want to be out there. No one's really forcing them. So help them get what they can out of the sport. You know, and part of getting what you can out of the sport is lifting and working out as well, so that you can play the sport at the best level that you want to play it at the highest level that you want to play it at. So strength training, you know, from the time I started when I was 12 and I started coaching football and got to work with the athletes and get them into the weight room and start training them, it's kind of my saving grace, I guess. So my thoughts on why I got into it, how I do things, how I run my business, how I interact with people, I think is way different than a lot of other people.
So that's awesome. So you kind of rose to the challenge to be the person that they would really admire, and then use that as a way to almost like self-therapy when you were coaching these kids. Okay, so after you did the coaching, what kind of happened then in terms of your own career and progression? What kind of took place after that?
Once I started coaching football, because I was just doing all sorts of different jobs. I did heating and cooling, I'd worked in concrete and kind of construction trades type of thing. I started coaching football and I really found a passion for that. I started dating a girl who is now my wife. And as I was coaching football, I think it was a year or two in, I thought this is really cool. You know, I wish I could do this more and impact more kids. That's what got me started, because my personal life, you know, the coaching was kind of an escape, and it gave me a reason to keep going. But in between coaching, I was still shit. Didn't think highly of myself, and all sorts of stuff. So, but my girlfriend at the time, had mentioned something about going back to school. I was 26 years old, and I'm like, go back to school. Come on. So I graduated with a 1.8 GPA. What school is going to take me? I'm not a school person. And she's like, oh no, hey, my aunt, got her bachelor's degree in her mid 30s and this and that. And so I said, all right, whatever. I started looking into it, and I thought, if I do go back to school, I can be a physical education teacher, maybe health teacher, and that'll get me into the schools, and I'll be able to connect and be that teacher that I needed. When I was in school or something like that. So,
yeah.
So as we were dating, I started looking into going back to school, started going back to school, ended up at a community college and got a couple little associate's degrees to transfer on to Central Michigan University, fire up chips. I got my bachelor's degree there in physical education and school health. Then got married in 2004 to that girl that told me that I should look into going to school.
That's probably a good idea. Good decision.
It worked. It's worked out. It's working out. So, and so as the relationship with her went on, I remember looking at my parents' relationship and how fucked up that was and how bad that was, the abuse, the emotional, the verbal, and all the shit that was happening there. And I did not want that relationship. I knew that wasn't the relationship. I knew that wasn't right. So I had to break the cycle there. I had to break the chain, and I had to say that my relationship is going to be different. And it had its ups and downs, for sure,
of course,
on my end. And but it was a choice that I had to make, and I had to be aware of. And so as things moved forward, and I graduated with my bachelor's degree, and we bought our first house here in Fowlerville. We found out that we were expecting our first child. Kind of reality, like, oh shit! Now I'm going to be a father. Now I'm going to be a parent. And my idea of parents was my parents, and that was not a good situation. So I had to make I had to become aware again and make that choice that I am not going to be who they were. And so I talk a lot on my social media and different things. I don't like yelling. I don't like, sure, you have to be hard on individuals and whatnot, but I don't think it has to be in a way that you yell. The whole, parents let your kids get used to coaches yelling at them and being hard on them because this is life, blah, blah, blah. I don't think anyone has to be yelled at. I think we can communicate in a way, that they understand what's going on. Doesn't all have to be negative. Sure, you've got to bring up things, but it's about, this is where we failed. This is, it's looking at the positives. What's the problem? How do we solve it? And those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the weird kind of opportunity in all of this, isn't it? You've had obviously a really, really challenging and awful upbringing in many ways, and yet it's giving you an opportunity to understand how to be a better father and a better husband, and maybe that's one way of spinning this and looking at it in how it's kind of maybe benefited you in that respect. So would you agree with that, or am I being unfair, or am I incorrect? Mm-hmm.
No, I would absolutely say, yeah, you're 100% right. It's I would never want my children to go through what I went through. However, it benefited me, I guess, because it made me aware of things, and it took me a long time. When I was seeing a therapist for a while and I was never a big reader when I was in school because I was forced to read. You have to read this book. You have to read that book. I don't fucking care about that book. It's not interested in me. once I got out of school and I could read the things that I was interested in, I gravitated towards, I'd always gravitated towards philosophy. I really enjoyed philosophy.
Any favorites?
And just, I really, Socrates, Aristotle,
okay.
Just quick. I like the quick quotes that allow me to just kind of think about my experiences and how that quote relates to my life and my experiences.
So you like the Stoics, the Stoicism stuff? You kind of like that?
Yeah. I mean, I can find anything, any little quick quotes or something. I used to start when I was substitute teacher and when I was coaching, I would start a lot of my stuff with a quote of the day and relate it to what we were going to be doing and the sport or different things of whatever it was, trying to relate it in and just get my athletes and people to think a little bit, to think critically and to go inside themselves a little bit and not just go with the flow.
So what happened? So I guess we're getting closer now to the genesis of Noble. So you obviously went back to school. You're clearly a very bright guy, and it's interesting to listen to you talk about this because you just, if you're not interested in something, you're just not as motivated to learn. And I'm very much the same way. And I had very average grades at school, and I don't consider myself average. I think if I applied myself, I'd get very good grades. But it's if I'm not interested in it, I struggle to just force it. And that's how you're coming across to me, certainly. And you went on to do so much in terms of qualifications and certifications, and obviously starting the business. Could you talk about that and talk about the genesis of Noble, how that kind of came about?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I said I graduated with at 1.8 GPA, then I got my bachelor's degree, graduated with honors. So, and then my master's degree as well. Wow. So it was a lack of brains, even though I took a lot of hits to the head in football. They're still there. It was kind of funny because as I was working on my master's degree, I had no idea what the hell a graduate assistant was and what any of that. Like, I got my bachelor's degree. I'm like, cool, I'm going to go be a PE teacher. And, that's it. And I applied for a bunch of different jobs. One thing that I know I've got a hard time doing is selling myself. I think I'm getting better at it as a business owner, selling myself and what it is that I'm able to help you accomplish, because the client or the person coming in has to play a role in that, obviously. So I finished second in 15 job interviews. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay.
Oh shit.
But one of my professors would say, hey, have you ever thought about being a graduate assistant? I'm like, what the hell is a graduate assistant? And so they explained to me the situation at Central. I'd come in, they'd pay me, so much money a semester. I got to take my courses for free. And then I would teach some courses as well. So when I was at Central, I said, sure, what the hell, I'll apply for this thing, not knowing that they had already had the plan that, hey, Eric's going to come in, he's going to be a graduate assistant. We're going to have him teach the 400 level, principles of strength training and conditioning course, because I was a certified strength conditioning specialist at the time. So that gave me the professional certification to teach a 400 level course at the college, as well as teaching the strength training activity courses. And then from time to time, they throw me in a bowling class. So,
right.
So I was teaching all the physical education majors and minors their strength training course. And so I geared it towards, I'd spent a lot of time coaching football, and one of my mentors was a high school PE teacher and had a strength training course. And so I would spend a lot of time, my free time, in the weight room in his classes, helping him out and just watching things. So I already knew kind of a good way for these wannabe PE teachers to run their strength training classes, and what the important things were to get into and those types of things. So, but as I was doing my master's degree, my first year. One of my mentors up at Central, who's now the department chair, Ray, he's looking at me. He's like, dude, you're not, what was it he said exactly? You're not higher education. You're not a higher ed person, or something along those lines. And it wasn't meant in a negative way. Like, he could tell that my passion was being in it, you know, like being in the field, being in the weight room, you know, and not doing the research and whatnot. So at the time, I had a couple different home things or whatever that I would work out on, because I wasn't a big commercial gym person. And one of my mentors, Mike Gittleson, who was the strength coach at the University of Michigan, had been relieved of duties when they made a coaching change. And so they brought in a new strength coach, and University of Michigan had a fire sale. They sold all of the equipment that he had in his weight room, so the new guy coming in could build his own weight room. So I bought a couple pieces there, and I just continued to buy things purely because I wanted to work out at home. I knew that most commercial gyms had shit equipment. I wasn't going to be able to go in and watch them do their shit and not say something. So I need to be able to do my own thing where I can be away from idiots. And so I just started accumulating equipment for, you know, my yard, my house. My wife was really happy with that decision on my part.
Well, yeah. Where were you keeping these pieces? Like in your living room or something? Like, where were they being held?
Wherever they fit. So because we were living in a small house in Lansing when I started accumulating this stuff, so I had an old Nautilus OME machine in the kitchen dining room, in the box for being able to do squats on it, was sitting off to the side, and
this woman is the dream. She inspired you to go back to school, and then she allowed you to accommodate all this equipment. She's a keeper for sure.
she is everything. She absolutely is everything, and I know that for sure now, because we've been stuck in the same house for 6 weeks now during quarantine, and I still love her as much now as I did then. It's awesome. So, yeah. So, I mean, I started going to strength clinics in 99, 2000, something like that, and just meeting strength coaches. So, you know, the different universities and things like that, networking, getting on email lists. And so I'd get emails, hey, we're selling this equipment, selling that equipment, it's going over here, it's doing that. So I'd start buying piece here, piece there. Once we bought our house in Fowlerville, I had a 1,400 square foot basement that I filled up with equipment. That was 2010 when I started the business. In 2012, things were going so well. I was looking on Craigslist, you know, buy and sell type of thing or whatever. I'm like, hey, honey, someone's selling a pole barn that they are taking down and posts on the ground and yada, yada, yada. What if I bought this pole barn and put it up and moved the gym out there? You know, we're having, we were expecting our second child at the time. And so, you know, kids sleeping upstairs, nap time and that type of thing. And you're downstairs with the radio blasting, training people. It doesn't really work out.
Yeah, absolutely. I can attest to that. Can I just pause you for a second? When things were taking off, where were you training people from, like the basement of the house?
Yeah, so I was just training people in the basement of the house. You know, a little finisher at the end of the workout, they had to walk upstairs. Sometimes it didn't go well. Sometimes it took them.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that it was when he told me that he didn't think I was higher education type of whatever. I had already started kind of accumulating some equipment. And then once my wife and I moved into Fowlerville and we had a few things in the basement, I had a couple friends come over and start training. as well. We were all working out together, and then he was a football coach. So he had to start going back to coaching football, and his wife was like, "Hey, what would you charge me to take me through, like 2 workouts a week?" I don't know. I've never charged anyone anything. Been doing this for 10 years, just training people, in my free time. So she's like, "Well, here, this is what I was paying, this trainer up here. But, you're better." So I'm like, "All right, yeah, sure. We'll do that." And so then I went back to my wife. I said, "Hey, honey, so-and-so, she's going to pay me to start training, and I've got this equipment. What do you think what if I started my own business? Like, what do you think about that?" And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, all right, sure. While you're looking for a PE job, at least you're making some money. You can start, training some people or whatever." And so I went and talked to a lawyer, and we got the LLC and sole proprietor and all that jazz done. And there it was. I've got a business.
Wow. And then it was shortly after that you saw this opportunity on Craigslist to buy this barn. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 years later, I saw this barn on Craigslist, and so I bought that.
How big
wife
is
and I
that?
went out and got it. It's currently it's about 3,880 square foot. 3,880 square foot.
That's very specific. Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah. The insurance came, for the insurance company wanted to know how big it was, so they measured it all out. I always say 4,000 square foot,
Yeah, it's a nice big space.
But they said no. It's 3,880 square foot. I'm like, all right. If it saves me money, we'll go with that then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, sorry, you were saying about the acquisition of that place. You were talking about that.
Oh, what was that?
So you were saying you found it on Craigslist. I kind of cut you off because I was just curious the size. Yeah.
Yeah. So we found it on Craigslist. Went over, bought that, and I started putting it in the ground. Hired someone to come over and put the holes in the ground. Had the area all excavated out in the flat area ready to go. So put the holes in the ground and over it was March. I believe it was March 2012, April 2012, when I first started purchasing everything from the barn and moving it over. I was loading all the wood up on a trailer by myself, 25 miles away, bringing it back, unloading it back and forth, getting all the stuff, all the sheet metal and everything else. Had to buy some new stuff here and there while I was putting it up. With got a bank loan, and then was using some credit cards to do some stuff. And as I was doing this, I'm like, as soon as this stuff gets paid off, I'm not going into debt. I'm not going into credit card and all this other stuff. And so I worked on paying all of that. I got the barn built with some help of some friends over a 6-7 month period. Started in April, moved in October of 2012. And so I literally built the barn myself with help of some friends. We put the posts in the ground. I built it up. We set the trusses. I did the sheet metal siding. I insulated it. I ran the electrical. I helped pour the concrete. And
I'd be useless.
We did
it. So what did you do? So you've just had your 10-year anniversary. Is that right? For your business?
Yes. 10 years business this past January.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. How did you celebrate, if at all?
I didn't really celebrate. I posted something on social media saying, "Hey, I've made it 10 years." And then I went to train people.
Fair enough. I thought you might have had some kind of like awful workout, like killer workout or something, and posted it or something like that. I suppose that's a weekly occurrence for you, probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. All right. No, it's a great story. And do you know what? I was having a chat with a friend of mine recently, and he runs a business similar to you, slightly smaller. And he said to me, I keep thinking someone's going to like this isn't going to last forever. Like someone's going to figure this out and call me on it, and I'm going to go and have to get a normal job like everyone else. I wake up every day and I can't believe I'm doing this, and it's awesome. And that's pretty much verbatim what he said to me, and I just thought that was really lovely to hear. Do you have a similar feeling yourself, like with your business? That same sort of sometimes disbelief. I mean, it's a weird one, but I'm just curious.
No, I totally get what he's saying. Like, you know, when certain people, I like Gary Vee and listening to him, and I like a lot of his stuff. And when he talks about like, do what the fuck makes you happy. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like life is short. So do what makes you happy. You know, I had a kid come in he was going to school to be an engineer. So why do you want to be an engineer? I'm just curious, you know, why people want to do what they want to do type thing. He's like, because I'm good in math. That's the reason, because it's not because it's going to make you happy or because this, that, or the other thing. I said, it's up to you. He's like, no, what makes me happy is this. I love training. So he got a certification and he started to do some training and stuff. And now he's back to school getting his bachelor's degree and some type of, I think it's like fitness management or something like that. So he can be a trainer and understand, I guess, the business side of it more and be like a manager, run and have a better idea on how to run his own business or whatever. So it's like, I said, dude, you know, in the world nowadays, you can make money doing anything. He was a big Pokemon guy. He's wearing a Pokemon t-shirt. I'm like, you watch so much Pokemon, you could probably come up with your own design of a t-shirt and turn around and sell that to the Pokemon, blah, 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 whatever else. Like, you can make money. You just have to know, you know, you can make a living doing anything. You just got to work hard at it, and you've got to know some stuff, and you've got to know how to get the money out of it. But, you know, if you can make money being on Instagram and YouTube and playing with Legos and it's out there.
100%. So. Yeah, I completely agree. You know, you could argue we're both examples of that. But it's fascinating because I had a friend of mine. I think you know, a lot of people right now during this COVID-19 crisis should use this opportunity to pursue something they love, especially those that are doing jobs they don't enjoy that much. A friend of mine who is always talked about doing a business, and he came up with all these ideas he was sending to me, and then he had this one idea which is basketball orientated. He's really into basketball. And I know he's wanted to do this for years. And I said, look, out of all the ideas you told me, that might have like the worst business model or be the hardest to monetize, but don't worry about that. I was like, because whatever idea you end up doing, you have to have endurance, because those people that don't do it for the money straight away are actually the ones that out-endure everyone else who just does it for the money. I said, you figure out the passion, you pursue it, you build on it, you build a following, an audience, and then you monetize later, you know? So I completely agree with what you're saying, and there's money can be made from anything. It's absolutely true, and it's just about really pursuing things that you're passionate about. I mean, life's too short, as you said. So,
yeah, I think when someone sees the passion, like I find myself now, I'm 44 years old. And
I can't believe you're 44. You don't look 44 at all. Because you were saying earlier, like, oh yeah, I did this in 99. I'm like, how old is Eric? I'm like thinking because I thought you were like mid 30s or something. So there you go.
See how good strength training is for you.
Exactly.
I've got good genes. So,
sorry, you were saying
yeah. Like I don't know. I find myself I just appreciate everything. Like I watch someone doing, you know, like an artist or a musician or even someone who lays brick. Like you watch them do their job, and those because it takes all sorts. There's people that love being bricklayers and that type of thing, and that's what they're passionate about, is building with bricks, not Legos, but the actual bricks. Type of stuff, and you watch them work, and it's it's artistry, the way they slap the mortar down and handle the brick and set it. And it's just, it's art, it's art in motion. I don't know. I'm a little weird.
No,
So
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I'm crap at all that stuff. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and so you watch those people that are doing whatever it is they do, whatever their job is, and they're happy and they're loving it, and their life is good, and they make it look easy, you know, and that's what it. I don't know. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, and I have massive amount of admiration for people that can do, you know, that. You know, you were just giving an example there, but crafts, you know, manual labor, they can do that so well, and they you know, they enjoy it. I really admire that because I just am not born with that skill set, unfortunately. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, ARX. Are you looking to create a cutting-edge, high-intensity training facility? Are you confused on what equipment to use or how to separate yourself from the masses? Well, then ARX Fit might be the answer you're looking for. I asked Mike Polano from ARX a few questions about how ARX machines are challenging the status quo of the exercise industry around the globe. Mike, if you could, give the listeners a quick summary of why ARX is so different from the traditional machines or tools they're used to seeing in most exercise facilities.
ARX is totally different than anything you've seen before. This isn't just another weight stack machine. We've looked at the last 40 years of exercise technology and used that knowledge to create something entirely new. ARX uses a new form of resistance, a motor, and we pair that motor with computer software so that we can maximize the safety, effectiveness, and efficiency of your workouts. So you may be asking, okay, but how does ARX compare to weights? Traditional machines you see in gyms today are based on lifting metal weights and battling gravity. What people don't realize is that when you're forced to lift a static weight like this, one that doesn't adapt or change while you use it, you're underloading yourself rep after rep. And this unnecessarily limits your ability to make improvements. With ARX, we've taken a totally different approach. We removed weights and gravity from the equation altogether. Instead, ARX combines our patented motorized resistance with our custom computer software to provide you with the world's safest, most effective, and most quantified form of resistance training ever. When you train with ARX, you are training to your perfect level of resistance, both positively and negatively 100% of the time. No more guessing what weight to use. ARX does all of that for you, instantly and automatically. We'll also track and measure every second of every rep, so you can quantify all of your workouts to find out if you're improving and by exactly how much. Whether your goals are bigger muscles, increased strength, stronger bones, or just to look good in a bathing suit, ARX can help you achieve all of these and more, but do so in a fraction of the time it would take compared to traditional equipment. If you're looking for the most efficient, most effective, and most quantified piece of exercise equipment on the market today, then look no further than ARX.
Thanks, Mike. That all sounds really impressive. If you'd like to learn more about ARX, visit arxfit.com and mention that you heard about ARX on the High Intensity Business podcast to receive an exclusive deal of $500 off shipping and installation of your ARX machines. So, you know, I wanted to, again, talking about the business, I think we've probably spoken about it a fair bit. I am curious though, what do you currently charge for personal training, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh boy. So yeah, I'm currently at $40. I'm at $40 a training session.
Okay.
So I know I've had a lot of people. When I first started out, I was at like $10 training session.
Sure.
And you know, just trying to gain clients and gain some momentum. And but I stayed too low for too long. I didn't value myself, and that was still part of the process of my evolution and my journey was understanding my value, and that I actually have something to give to people and to others. Like, I continually have people tell me, and maybe some of the listeners will disagree, but I've got people telling me that I need to do more video related content. I need to put myself out there more because I have a unique position a little bit of a unique thought process on things, and that they want to hear it more.
I agree. I think you are unique, and certainly in my mind, and you kind of seem to occupy a few categories just in my mind in terms of, like, obviously a HIIT business owner or a strength training business owner, the neck guy, which we'll come on to, but also you have this you have this kind of, obviously with your background and what you've been through, you've got this it's a lot of value you can provide through personal development, helping people with their personal challenges, and almost being like a life coach in a way. I know that's a bit of a stigma attached to that these days, but I think that's kind of how I would describe it. And so I completely agree. I think you can leverage that side of you, which kind of is almost like Luke talks about 3 uniques and differentiating your business and all of that. It's kind of, maybe it's not a unique, but it could be turned into one. And that's the way I see it. It kind of sets you apart, is what I'm trying to say. Makes you different. So
right, yeah.
that could be very powerful. And I got to say, I do think I think we spoke about this at Rec, but I think based on your background, your skills, just people have to Google your name and look at the YouTube videos you start in with the likes of Mike Petrella. You're seems to be one of the top trainers, and I think if you wanted to, you could charge a lot more than you do. So your clients are very, very lucky that you're only charging that. Is certainly my perspective from what I've seen and heard about your personal training skills. Eric, I just wanted to, before we get into maybe some questions around neck training and some other stuff, I wanted to talk to you about some of your influences around training. Obviously, high intensity business. We like to talk about high intensity training. No surprise there. And what's your influence there? So, like, how much? Yeah, talk to me. I guess way we could start this bit of conversation off is just tell me about how high intensity training has influenced your style.
Yeah. So I was fortunate when I was in high school. One of our football coaches and also a physical education teacher in Fowlerville. He read all of Arthur Jones stuff when he was in high school because he was interested in strength training. So he graduated in, I think, mid or late 70s. So he was reading Arthur Jones stuff there. He had heard of Dan Riley, Mike Gittleson, Ken Manny, like these strength coaches, college strength coaches. I think Dan Riley ended up going on to the Redskins and then to the Houston Texans. And they started, I can't remember, at one point in time he was at Penn State. I think he started out at maybe Army before that or something. So my first influence was that PE teacher. The way he had us training, I was in 8th grade and I was training my neck. As an 8th grader, we had a neck machine at our high school and we were training our neck, and it was all high intensity based. And as I went through high school, training, sometimes I was a typical high school kid. I wasn't there. Like, I loved training, but I had a lot of other things going on in my life. So I wasn't always there training. But as I got to know him better and he mentioned names, Arthur Jones, Mike Gittleson, and different things, I started looking into them. I started reading some Arthur Jones information. He's the one, PE teacher is the one that started taking me. We started going to some local clinics, Notre Dame, Michigan State, things of that nature. I started meeting more people. So my influences are more on the sports side, strength coach, college level, professional level strength coach. I know some of the bodybuilder names and some of the different things, obviously Menser, and Casey Viator and those, but it started out more Arthur Jones, and then kind of off there, Jim Flanagan, Kim Wood, Dr. L, and then I met Roger Schwab at one of Kim Wood's clinics way back when, and yeah.
So it sounds like, although you've got more of an influence from kind of the sport side of things, strength and conditioning and sports, it sounds like a lot of those individuals are influenced by high intensity training, which from what I understand is still only a small cohort within strength and conditioning and sport, right? Because the vast majority are still repeating the same old coaching folklore that's been passed through the ages and is still, it just seems to be a lot of nonsense being practiced that really isn't that helpful. So would you say you've still been quite selective about who you listen to and who's been an influence and a mentor to you from that space?
Yeah, I do. Dr. Ken was another one, Dr. Ken Leisner. And so like Roger Schwab and Dr. Ken, having the opportunity to meet them and talk to them, and some of those individuals that have, like Dr. Ken, had done everything. He had done Olympic style lifting. He had done the powerlifting. He had done high volume. And I sat down and had a conversation with him, and he said, I've done it all, and this is what is most efficient. This is what this is, and this is that. And
can you remember that blueprint, high level, like what he said? I know it's pretty hard for you to pull that from the recess of your memory, but
unfortunately not. It was at a Michigan State. It was at a Michigan State strength clinic, and part of me was just like, oh my gosh, Dr. Ken is having a conversation with me, and so it was like, whew,
you weren't even listening to what he was saying. You were just awestruck.
I was awestruck, and I took in part of it, and some of the stuff, and he said, look, I've done it all, and this is what makes sense, and this is why it makes sense, type of thing.
So would that be, do you reckon, like twice weekly, like full body, single set to failure? Was that the gist, or was it different to that?
No, that was pretty much it. Like, there's, sometimes we'll do, like Dr. Ken had his famous squat, straight bar squat with a 60-second break. You do three sets of 10 with a 1 minute or 60-second break in between. So there's, there's always a little bit of, there's wiggle room. I think it's more how it's done. But yeah.
Yeah.
So and then listening to Dan Riley talk and just some of the things that he had learned with manual resistance and the intensity level that things are done. Like I'm always curious why people think there's degrees of overload. Like once you've overloaded, there's not like a second degree overload or a third degree overload. I mean, you're just doing more damage. You take it to the point of hurting yourself. But
what would you consider as being sufficient overload? If you could give an example, maybe an exercise routine or something.
Individually based on, I don't know if I'm any good at it or not. My clients would probably say I am pretty good, but I think reading faces and body language when they're training on whether or not they've got another rep or if that's really truly it. So, obviously the first thing they're going to get to is probably mental fatigue and the body, the brain saying, no, I can't do any more. Yeah, we can push through the mental fatigue. Just and that's where the coaching comes in, coach you through the mental fatigue, keep the good technique. Once your technique and form starts to go, then either we're done or we'll get one, I'll help you, we'll get a negative or something like that. So
okay. So based on what you understand of high intensity training, the influences you've had, I guess more specifically within that space, like Mike Mensa, Ellington Darden, Arthur Jones, and I guess also just conversations you see on social media, maybe interviews you've listened to on my podcast and others, where do you deviate, do you think, from kind of the traditional sort of HIIT principles in your business, in your style, do you think?
I don't know. I guess my deviation, just looking at my client base and some of the things that are going on, individuals that have had strokes and different hip, knee replacements and whatnot. So we'll deviate from going to momentary muscular fatigue failure. I don't always go there. Sometimes knowing like we got good work in today, we'll live to fight another day tomorrow type of thing, or, next workout. But yeah, it's usually, unless something happens, there's an injury or something, it's full body. It's one set, working towards momentary muscular failure. And I don't know. There's so many different. People have so many different versions out there of high intensity training. This is No Bull Strength Performance's version. This is my version, my philosophy of it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm interested in. One of my questions was, "What's the No Bull way?" And you kind of started saying it there. So full body, one set, typically, maybe as you said earlier, with overload and where necessary. But like you say, it really depends on the person and your read as a coach. What about frequency? Like what type of frequency people typically training at your place?
I promote twice a week, but I have some people that travel, so they shoot for a minimum once a week. Now with the virtual training, with the Zoom things like that, some of them have talked about, hey, if I'm out of town for a week, maybe we can do this, and I can go down into the hotel weight room and we can get on a Zoom call and you can take me through a workout with the dumbbells or whatever. I'm like, absolutely. There we go. You go on vacation. You want to get a workout in while you're on vacation. Yeah, no problem. Let's do it. So, this has expanded some things there, but yeah, typically everyone comes in and we start with neck, some type of neck work, whether it be just a range of motion, moving around, see where everything is at, or a progressive overload on a manual resistance or one of my neck machines. Then we move into lower body. Sometimes we just get right to the compound movement. Sometimes we pre-exhaust. Sometimes we go a little post-exhaust. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Then upper body, push pull, or opposite. And then we'll see where time goes. Maybe some grip work, buys, tries, midsection. So nothing sexy.
No, it's all good. You mentioned obviously you've been embarking a bit on virtual training during this pandemic, and some of your clients are like, actually, this works pretty well. So do you think you'll continue doing it then as a small part of your business in terms of helping clients remotely when they're traveling and things like that? You think you'll continue doing that in the future?
Yeah, when they're traveling or that type of thing. I mean, sure. They all want to get back. They all want to get back into the gym because of the equipment and whatnot. I mean, that's why the equipment was made, because it does something that the dumbbell or the band or whatever, it doesn't do or isn't able to do. So they're all looking forward to getting back onto the equipment, but it gives them an option to still do something when they're on vacation or when they're traveling for work or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to see just how many of our colleagues will be continuing virtual training just as part of their ordinary service portfolio when everything reopens. That will be an interesting trend just to see what happens there. Awesome. So, one thing I wanted to ask you before I get onto some of the neck training is I saw you were training, I don't know if you still train him, an NFL player, Tom Lelito. Is he still one of your clients there, or?
It was, Tim. No, he retired.
Okay. Is it Tim or Tom?
No, it was Tim.
Tim, sorry.
Yep,
okay, I misspoke. Yeah. What was that like training him?
That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. He was actually from Fowlerville area. He was from the Fowlerville area, and his grandparents lived just a couple miles away from me. And he was back he saw me just before Thanksgiving. I think it was his junior year of college over at Grand Valley. And he was like, hey, oh my gosh, because I coached him in Little League football.
Right.
And I was coaching in Fowlerville when he was playing there. And between his freshman and sophomore year, he moved in with his dad over on the other side of the state. So I didn't really see him a whole lot anymore, but his brother was still in Fowlerville. And so I talked to his brother and keep up with what Tim was doing and whatnot. And then he went on to Grand Valley to play football, and he was also on the track team for a little bit before he broke his ankle and quit the track team to just focus on football. And I saw him, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I got this and that." And I started my own business. So I'm doing some strength training and that type of thing. And this was 2011 maybe, because he came and did an internship with me. Basically, he wanted to come over in the summer and train. So he had some class that he would do an internship with me over the summer. So he was with me every other week. And then he was a captain on the football team. So he was doing stuff, leading the team through some stuff on the weeks that he wasn't with me. So we trained through, through the late spring and all through the summer every other week. And he would take everything that he learned from me back to Grand Valley, and he would train the same way through the summers. And I remember him saying that he got back for fall of his senior year, and his athletic trainers are looking at him like, "What the fuck did you do?" I started training with an old football coach of mine, and blah 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 blah, and yeah, he had an amazing senior year at Grand Valley. Was unanimous All-American offensive lineman for the GLIAC, and came back after the season once he graduated from college. Came back, and we trained him for his pro day over at Grand Valley. Had a really good pro day, and last day of the draft, the Saints called him up, and about a dozen other teams, and the Saints were the first ones to call him, offered him preferred free agent, something like that, and there it was.
So was he undrafted then? Is that right?
Yep, he was an undrafted free agent.
Okay.
Saints signed him. He went through the whole preseason.
Yeah.
Didn't get the call the last day, so that he ended up getting the call saying, "Hey, welcome to the 53-man roster." And there it was. I think he played 4 seasons with the Saints, and then signed with the Titans, who ended up releasing him when one of their other offensive linemen that had left in free agency got released and came back. And then he's played with the Lions for a few weeks, got injured, was out the rest of the season, just ended up retiring.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's probably a common scenario. That's the thing. He's probably an example of the common journey through professional sports, right? A lot of them don't last all that long, and a lot of people get injured. And we only see the selection bias, don't we, of all the heroes and the people who've been in. Heroes are the wrong word, but just people that have had long careers, stellar careers in professional sports. So it's interesting to get insights into someone whose career was perhaps maybe it sounds like a little bit shorter than he would have hoped. Would you say?
Potentially, yeah, potentially.
With the injury,
he just had other. I mean, it wasn't an injury that kept him. It got him out for. I think he was out for a couple weeks. And then the Lions made roster moves and released him. And so I think he had opportunities, but he's just like, you know what? I was in for 5 years. I did this, and then I'm going to move on.
Made a
girlfriend. Yeah. Made some money, got some things. He did that, and he moved on. He got married, and he and his wife started their own business over on the other side of the state, doing a little fitness studio or something.
Cool. There's a video of you training him on your Facebook page, I think, and he's doing lunges with dumbbells, power block dumbbells, and you get him do a full length for the room, but then he starts doing reverse lunges, and he's dying. He's like struggling so much, he's having to take a rest. Do you remember that? And at what point was that during your time with him?
Oh, yeah, I remember that because I had them. So those dumbbells, the power blocks. So I've got the ones that go up to 90 pounds. So he had 90 pounds in each hand. And,
wow. Yeah.
And as he's doing this, he's pissing and moaning. He's like, I can't fucking do it. Because I'm like, no, you can't step together. I want you to step all the way through. So when we're doing our forward walking lunges or our backwards walking lunges, if you step together, then you're coming back up here to the front and you're starting over. Do not step together. Lunge, push off, and step all the way through. If your foot touches down next to your other foot in the midpoint, we're starting over. And he had to start over like 2 times. He started over like 2 times and he kept yelling, I can't fucking do it. I'm like, well, I don't know why the fuck you can't do it. I'm an old man and I can do it. The fuck you can. So I walked out there. I grabbed the weights and I did my forward lunges down and back and backwards lunges. I said, now you had a fucking break. Go to it.
So, yeah, it doesn't, when you're looking at it, you're thinking that doesn't seem that hard, but you forget those power block dumbbells are 90 pounds in each hand, which is a lot. So what was it like training him on like the other pieces you have? Is he like a far cry away from the average person who might come in your studio? Did you see, he's obviously a big bloke. Did you see sort of significant performance on machines that you have and things like that?
It was awesome. Training him. He ended up getting a friend of his a couple friends of his from Grand Valley. So I ended up training a number of people that made it into different NFL rookie camps and different things like that.
Specimens.
Had opportunities in the Canadian Football League. And then just as time goes by, as I'm training athletes, then their parents see results and whatnot. So their parents come in, mom or dad or both. And then it's kind of, so I end up with less and less athletes because I've got more and more adults that are coming in and, there it is. I mean, it's all cool. I'd like to be able to get some more athletes in and train some more athletes, but I've got a few, so yeah, but training him was cool. There's certain things like we're doing shoulder presses or log bar shoulder presses and different things like that. And I've got to stand on a fucking box because, he's 6'4", 6'5", 320 pounds. So I've got to stand on a box, try and spot him. Hey, we're going to do manual resistance lateral raise. So I'm standing on a box so I can get all the way up and different things. But it was great. It was the same. His entire NFL career when he was training with me in the off season and stuff, it was 3 days a week for about 40 minutes. That was what he did. And then he went and he would do pool stuff and maybe some yoga or different things on his off days and whatnot. But the strength training was 3 days a week for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Awesome. Super interesting stuff. So I want to make sure before we wrap this one up, Eric, that we do touch on neck training because that is, after all, you are the neck guy. So do you want to talk about some of your principles, and we'll link to the video you did with Mike on the In the Gym series, which I thought was brilliant in terms of how you demonstrate warming up, or not warming up necessarily, but kind of when you're doing like a neck assessment, getting someone to lie on the bench and having them do various movements to see what kind of strength they have in the neck, which I thought was really cool, and then moving them onto obviously 4-way neck or 5-way neck for neck extension, flexion, neck lateral, and neck rotation, things like that. But I just wanted to hear from you, like, what are your, in all the time you've been training neck yourself and training clients, what are some of the key principles that you would advise the listeners who might be interested in learning more about how to train their neck better?
Well, I think I always tell people when they ask me about neck, I start out with, and you've got a young child. How old's your?
4 months old. And he's crying his head off in the other room, and I can hear my fiance trying to calm him as best she can. So yeah, that's probably my signal to wrap up soon. But sorry, go on.
So at 4 months old, it's I've got 3 kids, and I've been training my neck since I was in 8th grade. And I enjoyed it, and so I knew there was importance to it, but it wasn't until I get older and now that I've really had kids that I started looking into it in a different way. So, one of the first things that we do is we give our children tummy time because they've got to gain strength in the muscles of their neck. They basically just spent 10 months in a pool. So all their muscles are weak. And so they need to strengthen the muscles of their body and the muscles of their neck so they can hold up their head, which is what, a third of their body weight when they're born.
Yeah, true.
And so by the time they're 4 years old, their head is 90% the size that it's going to be as an adult. However, they don't gain 90% strength until about 14. So about the time when they start to hit puberty and things start to change, do they get to 90% of the strength, but they're walking around with the size with basically an adult head with toddler strength for about 10 years. So all of my children have done some neck training. They started out with body weight stuff. They did their tummy time so that they could get control of their head, because without controlling their head, when are they going to start to roll over and pick themselves up in a crawling position and all those things? Neck has a lot to do with development of an infant and a toddler. Neck strength.
How long do you have them do tummy time for? And how frequently? For how long and how frequently?
Wow, that was a long time ago. My youngest just turned 4, but I was fortunate that I was at home, so I would get down on the floor with them and try and play with them and keep them down there as long as possible.
Yeah.
If once they started fussing, after a couple minutes, if they really weren't happy, then we'd go. But they were a lot of tummy time.
Okay.
So
because we're sort of doing it daily.
All three of my.
Sorry. Go ahead.
It was probably every day, multiple times a day. When they were up and they were able to do it. I can't remember exactly how much now, but I know it was a lot. All 3 of my girls were walking by the time they were 9 months old. They were running around the house at a year old. So
that sounds rapid.
That was good and bad. Yeah. That was good and bad.
Sure. So sorry, I'll let you continue on the neck training principles. Yeah.
Yeah. So I look at it. The neck strength is such a huge portion of development from an infant standpoint, and being able to get moving and whatnot, and standing up and being able to hold the head upright. Why do we then stop training it?
Yeah.
So I don't. My children, 4, 8, and soon to be 10, will, if they want to go through a workout, because my 8 and 10-year-old come down to the barn all the time and ask me to go through a workout. And the rule is, if you ask to go through a workout, you complete it. I'm not going to force you to go through one. It's not like, okay, it's Monday, come on down, it's time to go through a workout. Nope. If you ask, you complete it. And so they start out doing neck, and then we get into some of the different things, whether it be machines that they can fit on that adjust to them, or it's a body weight, a dumbbell or something, and then go from there. But that just struck me when I found out, when I learned, reading some different research, that the head is 90% of the size it's going to reach as an adult at 4 years old, but they don't have the strength until 14. 90% of the strength at 14 years old. So we're missing an opportunity in strengthening necks through the elementary ages into middle school. And if it's that important at a young age, and I can't find the research right now on it, if it's that important at a young age for development, how does it change as we get older to continue to develop, or at least maintain, a certain level of balance and clarity and memory and all of those things to strengthen the neck, because it is the piece that connects the brain to the body.
Yeah. When you say it like that, you've just realized how critical protecting the neck, strengthening the neck is for just overall health. When you put it like you do. So what would you then advocate? I mean, maybe we can start by talking about what people can do from home. Personally, I've been doing this for a long time. I know it's probably not as good as using some of your machines, or using like a Med-X, a neck machine or something like that. But what I've been doing is just grabbing a rolled up yoga mat and doing time static contraction, neck flexion, neck extension on the floor. courtesy of Drew Bay's Project Kratos ebook. So I've been doing that for probably the best part of a couple of years. And then I will do lateral flexion with my hands, using just manual resistance. And again, usually a time static contraction protocol. So like start off at 50% for 30 seconds, then 75 for 30 seconds, and then 100% for 30 seconds. That's kind of the protocol I tend to follow. And I might alternate that. So like once or twice a week, something like that. But do you think that's a good idea for neck training in the current situation we're in, or are there better approaches that you might use?
No, that one sounds good. I know I put together a video for a lot of my clients, athletes, because they're all of them are used to doing neck. And so I said the first thing we do is come in and do neck, whether it be flexion, extension. I do head flexion, head extension, lateral flexion, shrug, one arm shrug, all these different things. They get all of those things typically as they come in throughout the week. So I threw together a body weight neck routine that I put up on YouTube for them. So we just started out with protrusion, moving up and down protrusion, shoot for 30 seconds, work your way up to 60 seconds. And then if you need a little break from there, then they go into neck flexion, from neck flexion into head flexion, because the little chin tuck is different than full, obviously neck flexion is different than head flexion. And then from there over to the side to do lateral flexion. I think I also had them do a rotation, just lift the head up about an inch off the mat and churning rotation. And then eventually roll over onto their stomach and do a neck extension and a head extension. So I had them all, told them to start with say 30 seconds of each movement, work your way up to 60 seconds with a little break. And then as things got going, because we're going to progress and we're going to get used to the weight of our own head and that type of thing, now start to link them together. Do 30 seconds protrusion and go right into 30 seconds of extension. If you make it through the 30 seconds of extension, then go right into another 30 seconds of head extension, because you're working all the different muscles. And then when you do from neck to head, it's a different set of muscles taking over. You've pre-exhausted the larger muscles and getting into the smaller muscles.
Mm-hmm. And this video you mentioned, is it public, or is it kind of unlisted for clients only?
I think I may have made it public.
Okay. Well, if you have, I'll find it.
I think I'm.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I think I made that one public, and then because I just ended up doing. I got bored one day, so I came out here, and I'm fortunate that I get to come out and play. So I came out and I just did another whole head and neck workout for myself on all my pendulum equipment, and posted that one out as well. So
great. All right. Well, I'll try and find those and link those in the show notes. What about with just, with machines? What kind of neck protocols do you advocate for, I guess, people listening who are working out themselves at facilities or studio owners? What's kind of your go-to neck protocol for new clients?
So like the in the gyms video that you were talking about with Michael Petrella, that's where I started out. I'll start out with just typically laying on a bench, and just because no one has ever trained their neck before, typically. And so we'll start out laying on a bench, and I'll coach them through, say, protrusion, so they can feel those different muscles, and then get the protrusion all the way up at the top and do a neck extension, and talk to them about which muscles, and have them kind of touch and point and feel which muscles should be engaging. Because a lot of times I think when people start working out, they've never really done it before. They're doing the exercise, but they're not able to necessarily feel which muscles are engaging and really doing the work. And they may be having too many different muscles, doing the work. than what are supposed to be doing it, squeezing, pushing through this and that and sweet whatever else. So I'll just start them out on a bench and take them through, see what their range of motion is, how things feel doing that before even putting them on a machine. and so they can feel what muscles should be engaging and what it should somewhat feel like. And then we get them over on the machine. For neck, I think I always start out fairly light weight wise and just get them to understand pressure in, feel the tension, slow moving. And then we go from there once they really, as they're starting to figure the movement out, figure the machine out and everything else, we adjust the weight appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. Eric, this has been a lot of fun. I think I'm going to have to shoot off to assist with the little one. But I'm sure you understand that very well yourself. So duty calls, but real pleasure to finally get you on the podcast. Long overdue, as I said. What's the best way for the listeners to find out more about you, sir?
I'm all over social media, Facebook, Instagram. I do have a website that I need to update and rework a little bit, but yeah.
Cool.
If you have any questions, you can just email.
What's your website and email again? Sorry.
Website is nobullstrength.com.
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook at No Bull Strength and Performance, and Instagram is No Bull Strength.
Awesome. Okay, I'll make sure that's all listed in the show notes as well. And for everyone listening, to find the blog post for this episode and download the PDF transcript, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search for episode number 272. And until next time, thank you very much for listening.
Discover how to achieve your health and fitness goals, become a great personal trainer, and build a successful, high-intensity training business. Check out highintensitybusiness.com. highintensitybusiness.com.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention HIB, that's High Intensity Business, in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you place an order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter HIB in the How Did You Hear About Us field.